When you're traveling, you're walking all day, wearing a heavy camera around your shoulder starts to become really annoying after a while, and your lens will start to feel more like a burden than a tool. I've always hoped that someone would create a really small and compact zoom lens, but physics is still physics, so it's not very likely to happen. So instead of waiting for the perfect zoom lens, I start to think differently. What if I create a set of primes that covers roughly the same range? Before buying anything, I tried to set a couple of ground rules. The lenses had to be very lightweight, very compact, very affordable, and they had to cover roughly the same range as a 24-70. After a lot of research, these are the lenses that I came up with. You'll notice that all these lenses are by Viltrox, so this isn't intentional. I'm not sponsored by Viltrox. They just happen to have the most light, compact, and affordable lenses. First lens is the Viltrox 20mm f2.8 Air, which I'm actually filming on right now. This lens weighs just 175 grams, which is honestly kind of crazy. You barely notice it in your bag, and on the camera it feels incredibly light. Price wise, it's also very accessible. Brand new, it costs around 190, and I managed to pick up mine used for 150. For travel, a wide angle lens is pretty much essential to me. I use it for really wide landscapes, for lookup shots, and it's also really handy in really narrow streets. Living and traveling in Europe, you come across a lot of really narrow streets and roads, so having that extra width is really useful. It really helps me tell more of the story. Overall, the image quality that you get for the size, weight, and price is really impressive. Second lens in my setup is the Viltrox 40mm f2.5. This lens weighs around 167 grams and costs roughly between 180 and 200 euros depending on where you buy it. Once again, it's very compact and lightweight, which makes it perfect for travel and street photography. I've always loved shooting at 35mm, but I did notice that I would crop in a lot, so that made me really curious about a 40mm. It sits really nicely between 35 and 50mm, which gives it that natural look and feel when you're out shooting. So it's a great lens for everyday carry, and it's also very light for street photography and travel photography. The image quality you get from this lens is amazing, especially for the size. So originally I bought the TD Artisan 40mm, and that lens had a lot of vignetting. Even when I was shooting at f9, it was really terrible, so I decided to trade it for this Viltrox, and I have absolutely no regrets because the image quality of this lens is amazing. The Viltrox is a lot more neutral and predictable. The vignetting isn't really noticeable. It's very sharp, and the autofocus is also great. And then the last lens that I bought is this Viltrox 85mm f1.8 Evo. So this lens is a new lens by Viltrox. It costs around 315 euros, making it the most expensive lens in the kit, but it's absolutely worth it. Still don't fully understand how they managed to offer this level of quality at this price. It weighs around 340 grams, which is very reasonable for an 85mm. So this focal length is great for situations where I want to hang it back a little bit more, where I want to get those candid shots without being too intrusive. So this lens allows me to have a little bit more distance between me and my subject. So the build quality is excellent. I think out of all of the lenses, this one is probably the best in terms of build quality. It's very sturdy. Also, a big difference between this one and the other Viltrox lenses is that this one has an aperture ring, so that's also a nice feature. I hope in the future with the Evo line that Viltrox will make the other lenses that I currently have in the Evo version as well with the aperture ring. That would be great. Viltrox, if you're watching this, autofocus is solid, image quality is solid. Honestly, I haven't really found any downsides when it comes to this lens. Alright, so let's compare all of these lenses, size and price wise. So all three of these lenses combined cost roughly around 580 and 620 euros. So if you were to compare that to a zoom lens, so I have the Sigma 24-70, which cost me around 1,300 euros. It's a lot cheaper. In terms of weight, the entire prime kit comes in at roughly 670 grams. So my Sigma is around 735 grams. So these three lenses are actually a lot lighter than just this one zoom. And realistically, you'll never mount all of these lenses on your camera at the same time. Also, if you know what type of situation you're going to shoot in, you could also just leave one at home. Quick reality check though. So obviously this setup isn't for everybody. It's not as convenient and as flexible as a zoom lens. So if you're working with a bunch of primes, you're constantly going to have to change your lens, which you don't have with the zoom. But for how I like to travel and shoot, I really like this trade-off. Another thing I should mention is shooting in low light situations. So the lowest aperture of these lenses is 1.8 with the 85mm. The other one goes up to 2.5, so it's not ideal for shooting in low light. So you can bump up your ISO and bypass this a little bit, but it's not ideal. The setup is mainly about staying light, comfortable, and mobile when you're shooting during the day. Hope this video was useful. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.